The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. A man came up to Jesus, knelt down before him and said, "Lord, have pity on my son, who is a lunatic and suffers severely. Often he falls into fire and often into water. I brought him to your disciples, but they could not cure him." Jesus said in reply, "O faithless and perverse generation, how long will I be with you? How long will I endure you? Bring the boy here to me." Jesus rebuked him, and the demon came out of him. And from that hour the boy was cured. Then the disciples approached Jesus in private and said, "Why could we not drive it out?" He said to them, "Because of your little faith. Amen, I say to you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise you, Lord.
So in the Gospel of today, Jesus is naming what it takes in order to have more faith and eventually also to run miracles, which is prayer and penance. And the best penance, apparently, it is fasting. Not only fasting from food. Yes, of course, also fasting from food. But there are many things that we can fast of. And here Jesus is, I have to say, a little bit, is not comfortable with the disciples. Not because they didn't succeed, but because there is something wrong in their attitude. He's saying that they have a little faith, and he's saying that if you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could move the mountains. Let us see what these mountains are. I will only express here today the description of one mountain. And it's the mountain of our ego. I don't need to, priest here, confession. So while I'm talking, you might think, "Oh, Father is talking of me now." It may happen, not that I talk by you, but that you think that. But I usually forget all the sins, really. I look at a person, I cannot remember. Then when you come to confession, I do. But not the rest of the time, really. It's like separate. I cannot describe that. So, whose ego I'm talking about? My ego. I'm here to describe you. My ego is a mountain that I know very well. That's why I can be very detailed today for you. Provided that we move this mountain, oh yes, we can work miracles. And this is one of the reasons why God has tight hands with us. Because our ego stops him. We are too proud. I will describe for you my ego, the mountain that I have to move. Many of the things we think that it's the devil, right? And that's true, because he's always blowing on us, whispering words. But most of the times it's not the devil, it's me. And you know how our psychology works. Our brain sometimes thinks for himself. It's free. And you cannot control it. Sometimes when you feel jealous, for example, and you don't want to feel jealous, but you still feel, because your brain is telling you, you gotta be jealous in this situation, right? So you have to fight against it. This is not really the devil yet. This is still you, and now you are done. That's why we say, oh, that is my character, like an excuse to say there is nothing I can do about it. So I will tell you what happens to me. My ego, he decides when I have to feel wounded and offended. It's not me who decides, it's my ego who decides that. So you talk to me, if my ego decides that your words are offending me, I get offended. And there is nothing you can do. So most of the times I attach myself to one of the words that you say because my ego says so. My ego competes. It's a competitor with other people. So you see your neighbors not really like your friends, but are your competitors. So that's why we say that you always look at the grass in the meadow, right? In the meadow of your friend and your neighbor, and it's greener, and you want to compete with him, right? Yes. Maybe you don't want to do it, but you still feel it. Your ego is telling you. And from this comes jealousy, of course, and vanity. My ego is cruel. Is cruel, and he's able to say the most terrible words. You don't realize, but your ego pushes you to say words that you don't mean, but you still say. My ego has no scruples. He doesn't really look at the person in front of me. Sometimes people you care about, but your ego is only looking to himself. My ego is able to lie about myself. So, because of my ego, I am able to lie about myself. No, I did not do that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't mean that. Most of the times, those are only excuses. My ego defends himself. He makes me defend myself. Let me explain. Let me explain what I wanted to say, right? So you keep on protecting your name and your honor. My ego put on weight. Put on weight. It's growing, So the more I don't do anything about him, the more he will thrive. My ego looks for acknowledgement. So all the time when I do something, even though I say that, oh no, I don't want to be acknowledged, right? But my ego is pushing me toward that, right? So we really, we don't want, but we like. And we realize that when nobody says anything to say thank you, I feel it inside. That is not me, that is my ego who is telling me. My ego makes me see everywhere enemies. Enemies everywhere. Even though your neighbor, even though your brother, your sister, even though somebody who is a churchgoer like you is my enemy, she's my enemy. This is the message that you keep on getting all the time. You don't realize it. You give the fault to the devil. That's not true. It's a mechanism inside of your brain that you need to control. And finally, my ego is the father of every violence and eventually of all wars. Those things are coming all from ego. Every violence, that is not only the physical violence. There are so many violences. Above all, the violence of words. Many times, through words, even through simple words, we use violence to our neighbors. So, let us go back to the medicine that Jesus told us to use. Prayer and penance. Above all, fasting. Not only from food, but fasting from words, from bad feelings, from bad thoughts. How do I fast of bad thoughts? It's enough that you say, I don't accept this thought. I don't accept this desire. Even though it still keeps on nagging on you. It's enough that you say, I don't want it. If you do that, you are fine. In front of God, you are fine. That is no longer a temptation, it's a merit that you are gaining.